there's a difference between an outdoorsman as you're a participant instead of an observer. And I just think that there's something very fulfilling in being a part of what's going out there, no matter what you choose to do.
These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. For those of you out there that are truck guys like me, I want to talk to you about one of our newest sponsors, Decked. If you don't know Decked, they make bomb-proof drawer systems to keep your gear organized and safely locked away in the back of your truck. Clothes, rifles, packs, kill kits can all get organized and at the ready so you don't get to your hunting spot and waste time trying to find stuff. We all know that guy. Don't be that guy. They also have a line of storage cases that fit perfectly in the drawers. We use them for organizing ammunition, knives, glassing equipment, extra clothing, and camping stuff. You can get a 2-drawer system for all dimensions of full-size truck beds, or a single drawer system that fits mid-size truck beds. And maybe best of all, they're all made in the USA. So, get decked and get after it. Check them out at decked.com. Shipping is always free. Today we are in Kamiah, Idaho. What's the name of this coffee joint?
Coffee Loft.
The Coffee Loft.
Yep.
I love Kamiah. I do.
It's a cool place.
This is a really nostalgic town for me because we used to come over here and wrestle in high school.
Oh.
So we'd wrestle in Kamiah, we'd wrestle in Orfino, and we oftentimes had host families when we came over here. So we got to experience like Northern Idaho hospitality, and they're great tournaments. It's really fun. And then this is also the highway that I used to take to get back and forth to college between Montana and Oregon was Highway 12, which cuts through Idaho along the Clearwater and the intersection of the Lochsaw and the Selway, and then on up the Lochsaw and over Lolo Pass. Mm-hmm. Such cool history throughout this area too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's nestled in, I think, one of the best areas in Idaho for the opportunities, fishing, hunting.
Oh, it's incredible.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to invite anybody over here. You know, it actually sucks, but
well, they can come try. You know, because
yeah,
it's similar to where I'm from on the Oregon side. You can come in the summertime and think, wow, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. And then if you're still thinking that in February, maybe you've got what it takes. But yeah, the winters are tough.
Oh, it's pretty brutal over there.
Yeah. If the grocery stores shut down here and you are no longer able to buy food, commercial food, how do you think that would affect the two of you?
I think we'd have a lot of people coming over to our house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just finally got set up with a generator.
Okay.
Obviously you can only run so long with a generator, gas, and if you can't get gas and supplies, but I think we'd be doing pretty good. We don't have a lot of dry goods, but I think we'd make it all right.
Yeah.
And if we had to, we'd go out and get fresh meat every single day. So
right.
Yeah, fish. And there's a lot of resources around here as well that don't involve like the meat side of things. Like there's a lot of wild fruit that grows like right outside our house. Like we have wild cherry trees and blackberries, or numerous plums and wild onion. And there's a lot of resources in the land itself that can be taken advantage of without any prep work.
Something that I appreciate about you two, Jase and Laura, is that you're actively in the outdoors all year long. Mm-hmm. You're not specialists. You're not working some kind of little niche. You're not like mule deer people or elk people or steelheaders. Whatever's happening, which there's always something happening here, you're right in the middle of it.
Oh yeah.
And when I was driving down, I'll tell you when we're off air a little bit more precisely where I saw a beaver the size of a bear sitting on a rock in the middle of the river on the way down. I can tell you where. But talk to me about your journey into trapping.
So I've always romanticized the idea of trapping. Like my favorite movie to this day, I watched it when I was 4 years old. I remember it was Jeremiah Johnson. That the trapping part of that movie is so small, but like I just loved the idea of like the mountain men life, and it still is one of the most fascinating things to me now. Like I could care less about Greek mythology and all that Roman Empire stuff. Like I want to know about the mountain men and like how they survived, and it's just really amazing when you think about people now today. Like you break your ankle or roll your ankle like 5 miles in, people today will just die out there. But like the mountain men survived all year round in like the harshest conditions. And so I just always loved that part of it, and trapping was why they were there. And I grew up in Washington where the trapping regs are just make it impossible. I didn't know anyone who trapped or nothing. Maybe like the raccoon that got into the dog food all the time. Like you put a live trap out and get that thing. But something I always want to do, just never had the opportunity or like the influence to try it. And it's kind of one of those things that's really intimidating to just go into it completely blindly if you don't have a little help or at least kind of know someone. And when I met Jase, he was trapping, and he asked, like, one of the times we were spending time together, if I wanted to come help him set some traps. And I was like, oh yeah, like I want to go. Like, heck yeah. And so I watched him go out. And
Is that when you knew?
Oh, I knew way before that.
we met in May, and then trapping rolled around in the winter. So
Yeah.
When I was always game to do literally anything outdoors, he was like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
But,
Gonna keep hold this one.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So I tagged along with him a few times where he was like setting and.
What kind of trap line were you running then?
Just beaver and otter mainly. A few mink sets, but
Water sets.
yeah.
Cold weather stuff, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's challenging here with the rising water, the water dropping, and when we don't get any rain, you're just constantly having to move your sets. It's a pain in the neck.
And getting in and out of icy rivers all winter long, that's scary stuff. Like, you fall in a lot.
Yeah.
The rocks are slippery.
Oh yeah.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
I'd rarely come home with dry feet.
Yeah.
I think it's impossible to trap beavers without falling in.
I have fallen quite a bit, but I've luckily never fallen all the way in.
Yeah.
To be fortunate, or that would be not a fun day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really start trapping until I think it was a year prior to meeting Laura out here. So I was still a beginner, you know what I mean? It took me a while to get my first otter, and I had kind of the basics down that I kind of showed Laura, but she's taken it and run with it, and she's a better trapper than I am. So
to be fair, I have more time to do it. Because like, since I work for myself, I can manage my schedule the way I want. Like, if I want to go out for 4 hours during the daylight.
You didn't disagree with him. Like, you believe you're a better trapper
No,
too.
I don't. To be fair, I'm better because.
a lot of it is time,
No.
It's,
Sure.
and I can make time, but especially in the winter, this time of year, you're waking up at dark and getting home at dark from work, and I just don't have the energy to put into it.
Yeah.
So when Laura can go check her traps during the day, it makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
So
yeah, like I don't know how motivated I would be or how hard I could trap if I was having to go after the kids were home from school, and when Jase came home from work and it's dark and I'm leaving the house at 6:30 and then coming home at 8 at night. Like, it takes away from the family time, but since I can manage my own time, that's the only reason I've been able to get out more. Not that I'm a better trapper than Jase, but unfortunately, I do feel bad because I know he loves it, but it's hard with his schedule because he's where most people are. You got to like pick and choose. Are you going to like take time away from your family and go do this thing that you want to go do, or are you going to like balance it and go home?
Yeah.
And try to like figure out how you can best of both worlds without getting off balance.
even if I was to get back into it, she took all my spots anyway,
shut up.
so I'm left with nothing.
Bull crap. I felt bad, so I left his alone. I'm like, there might be something that'll come back to this crappy little spot, so I'll go find something better.
There's only one problem with marrying someone that's just like you, is they're out there taking all your damn spots.
Yeah, competition.
No, to be fair, I don't do that.
I know.
No. I actually, when the first year I got into trapping, I only messed around with raccoons because there's a pile of them around here, and they're really, really hard on all the bird population. Mm-hmm. And we have a ton of turkeys, pheasants, quail around here, and even waterfowl down by the river, and it's like doing your part by managing that. But he was telling me, like, if you want to trap a beaver, like, you can go down to this spot. I'm like, no, like, I don't want to go to your spot. Like, here you go. You can go trap here if you want to get a beaver. And I'm like, no. And so I didn't even go for any, like, otters or beavers that first year. But I do spend an insane amount of time on the river fishing. And there was one time I was out bass fishing during trapping season. And I was moving across these, like, really big boulders. That's all it is, just, like, this bouldery edge. And all of a sudden, something underneath me, like, moved and then went in the water and scared me pretty bad. And I looked down, there was a beaver swimming off. I was like, oh, hell, there's a beaver right there. And I crawled under.
They look crazy underwater, don't they?
Oh, they're pretty cool. And I, like, looked and I found his den. And it was, like, this coolest, like, I could have crawled up in there myself. And I was like, oh, I found a beaver den. Like, I found this. Jase doesn't know this is here.
I want to touch on something here. It's different here compared to, where I grew up back east. It was easy to see beaver sign. You would see huts. Around here, their dens are buried in rocks. So you really have to get down and walk the shoreline. And you spend a lot of time on the river looking for those dens. So it's a lot harder here for sure.
And sometimes, like in my country, they can be back up in the cliffs a ways away from the river too.
Yeah, in, like, the most random spots. You wouldn't think that they'd be there. So this old mud puddle, like, 2 miles from the river. So what are they doing in here?
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, it's really fun. The part I love the most about trapping is just, like, the process of, like, going and walking and finding the sign. And then once you find the sign and you find where they're at, like, figuring out, all right, like, what are they doing here? What set is going to work best here? And, like, it's just, like, it sounds weird, but it's, like, almost therapeutic to, like, go through the steps and the satisfaction of, like, figuring them out and making your set perfect and then leaving and you come back and check it your next trap check and it works. It's like, it's such a awesome way to go outside and experience, like, going after to harvest an animal in such a different way than when you're hunting. It's like every little tiny detail matters.
It matters incredibly. And I think of trapping similar to calling. Right? Whether you're calling turkeys or ducks or coyotes or elk or whatever, most of that stuff, we only have to call them within the effective, like, range of our weapons, right? Which can be a pretty large area depending on what you're using. When you are trapping, you are calling an animal into an area the size of its foot. Like, you're predicting its movement closely enough that you're saying, okay, within a square inch, it's going to step right here. Mm-hmm. And you're not necessarily calling with sound, you're doing it with scent or with the terrain, but you're thinking about the animal's movements in such a precise way, and you have to defeat all kinds of its senses, right? Its sense of touch, its vision, its sense of smell, depending on the animal. Mm-hmm. You have to be incredibly precise with all that. And I think that trappers develop a more intimate knowledge of the animals that they're pursuing than any other hunter out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I totally agree.
A good trapper usually makes a dang good hunter.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. So what do you do with the animals that you catch?
So I don't sell anything that I catch at this point, at least. My otters, I'm saving all of them to make a coat for myself, because one thing that's really important to me.
Laura, you're only little. That's like 2 otters.
I know. When I got the quote and they're like, we need 16 to 17 otters, I'm like, I'm 5'1". And like, I'm the size of an 8-year-old. Can I get a re-quote, please? Oh, 3 otters is good. But no, I'm saving my otters for a coat, because one thing that's really important to me, which is, like, my history I want to pass on to my family. Like, I have my great-grandmother's mink shawl, and it was, like, her most prized possession. It was one that was bought for her by my great-grandpa, but I got it, and it's something that I treasure and something that I will pass on to my kids. And I just think it'd be really awesome to have, like, a fur coat made by the otters that great-grandma Laura caught, and now it's being passed on down to my future great-great-grandchildren or whatever. Something that has, like, history to it. That's something that's important to me, especially with something I was so passionate about. So the otters are going towards a coat, and then my beavers, I want to make displays out of them. I would love to make things out of them, whether they're for myself or for my family or friends or something. And same with the mink and everything. And like the raccoons, I don't really save their hides at this point because one, they're not worth the effort for me at the moment with all the other furs I have. And that's just a management side of things for my area because I care about, like you said earlier, we do everything. Like I care about the waterfowl population, like the upland birds and stuff, and keeping the raccoon population in check helps that quite a bit.
And raccoons are a great place to start. We talked about how to get into trapping, which can be a little bit intimidating, especially if you don't have a mentor. But with access to information like we do today with YouTube and various books and other things, like you could start with nothing other than the interest and the desire, and you could go do it. And raccoons are a great place to start. Muskrat and mink are another great place to kind of work your way into with those water sets. I think that the pinnacle of trapping would be the canines.
Yeah, they're definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
You have to literally cross every T, dot every I, because water trapping it can be very forgiving because you don't have to worry about scent. Like I handle all my traps with my bare hands. I'm not being scent cautious when I'm walking around, and like I'll kneel down next to my sets, and I if I'm walking in sand, I'll like kind of wipe my tracks away from like if I'm making a slide for otters or for beavers, I'll not leave my boot prints in the slide itself. But like with canines, you have to make sure you do not have any scent on your trap, around your trap, and make sure it's completely hidden, like invisible, to where they could detect any little tiny thing. Yeah, and it's another level, and it's definitely the pinnacle of trapping success.
Yeah. Coyotes have made me feel like such a dummy so many times because if you have left any scent on that trap, which could be as simple as you touching it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or getting it contaminated by like, say you boiled it, you dipped it in wax, you let it hang out, and then from that sterile environment, something in your shop or whatever got on it, like they're going to continue to smell that even when it's buried under the ground. Mm-hmm. And I've had coyotes come in and excavate around my traps and dig all the dirt away like they're some kind of archaeology student.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could you do this? Yeah. If I tried to do that with my hands, with my human knowledge of what a trap is, where it is, how it works, I would catch myself. Oh, yeah. Like I catch myself all the time. And I think that's another thing people don't understand about traps. They think that they're very cruel, that they're breaking bones in animals, that they're cutting limbs off, stuff like that. Folks, I catch myself in my own traps all the time. Have not broken a bone, have not lost any fingers. That's just not how it works. It's like a spring-powered handcuff.
Yep.
And then with some of these water sets, you use conibears at all?
I do. I use only 330s for my like beavers and otters, and I choose to use those because those are like they kill them instantly. Mm-hmm. And whenever I'm trapping something like the water animals, I want them to just be instantly dispatched.
Yeah.
And on the conibears, I choose to use those because I want them to be dispatched like immediately. Yeah. And it does kill them instantly. It doesn't take much to learn how to set your triggers to where when they hit it, it catches them perfect. Mm-hmm. I haven't dabbled in drown sets yet just because I haven't found like where I have to have a drown set. I will say that there are definitely certain situations where those are better for maybe the terrain you're trying to work. But for me, I've been fortunate. I just make the conibears work.
I think if you have like a beaver dam and a beaver pond and it's deep water, that works pretty well. But in these rocky rivers, it's probably not ideal. I've always found it interesting that trappers are so cautious with their language. Like they use the word dispatch instead of kill. Yeah. And they're very much... trappers are very targeted. And there's a bill being run in Oregon this year by a Republican not congressman, but state representative that is aimed at trying to stop beaver trapping on federal land. And it's interesting because this isn't somebody who opposes trapping, right? But he wants to do it for water issues or whatever. A lot of people think that beavers are just the absolute messiah, that they're going to solve global warming, that they're the single thing that's going to make the difference in salmon and steelhead recovery. And I think it's interesting that they've developed this really charismatic persona or reputation when beaver trapping has occurred commercially in this area, as far as I know, at least since 1810. Mm-hmm. And there's still beavers here. Saw one today, right?
Yeah.
The beaver population is healthy. And under controlled harvest, which it is very controlled, we will continue to have beavers and beaver trapping in perpetuity. Mm-hmm. And your steelhead fishery and your salmon fishery is better here than it is in my part of the country, right, where they're trying to restrict all that stuff with the beaver trapping. And it's essentially the same fish, right? Yeah. Yours are just taking a left instead of a right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's frustrating, but there's definitely a lot of people who are out to get trappers for sure because they don't understand it. And I think it's very unfortunate. And because of that, a lot of trappers don't want to talk about what they're doing. They're very careful with their language. And I think that the shame of that is that the skills are being lost.
They are, definitely. Well, and it's crazy that... Sorry, just all you can
No,
say.
go ahead.
It's crazy to see that, like, when I started to trap and share my success, like on my social media, because like I share the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just literally share my life because I'm happy and I'm proud about it, and that's how I connect with people. That's how I found some of like my favorite people is through shared experiences, shared minds by social media. I was really, really shocked to see how much hate I got from like other outdoorsmen who were shaming me and calling me cowardly for trapping. And I was just like other hunters and everything like bashing me for trapping. And it just blew my mind. I think people easily get their mindset on idolizing an animal in a certain light. And they think that the justification to harvest it is not right. And then there's a lot of misunderstanding and stereotyping about trapping. Like you were saying earlier, the footholds are meant to hold. It's really just like holding their foot there. It doesn't break bone, cut, or anything. The regulations are so strict on what you can and cannot do to make sure it's done as ethically as possible. And it's just misinformation. And the reason why trappers are so cautious with how we talk about things is because we're so misunderstood. And anyone who traps cares about it because it's so much work to go out and trap. You are dedicating a lot of your time, energy, and money to go out there and try to be successful. And the last thing you want is for it to be misunderstood. I always encourage people who have questions. I always want to help them to be successful and go out and try it for themselves because I know how much I enjoy it. And it's definitely getting lost because no one's talking about it. No one's sharing about it because they're worried about the hate and misunderstanding that comes with it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that trappers are... I think they're the biggest conservationists there are. Trappers care about every animal. You know, we trap raccoons because, like Laura said, we care about the bird population. We trap predators. We trap everything, you know, to keep everything in check. People that deer and elk hunt every year, you know, they complain about the deer population's down or the elk population's down, but they don't want to go harvest bears or mountain lions or even put forth the effort to go do it. You know, it's, I don't know.
There's a balance to be maintained. And like every animal is good, but any animal out of balance where it's overabundant has a negative effect on everything else.
Laura's very cautious where she traps every year. She'll usually change spots every other year to make sure she doesn't catch more than what we need, to pull out of there. So she'll catch one or two beavers in a den and then moves to the next spot and leave one or two in that den for the next year. You don't want to trap everything out of that whole area.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a renewable resource.
Yeah.
Like these beavers, these otters, all this stuff, they can continue to repopulate, and you can create a garment from that will last generations.
Yeah.
Like what you already have.
Yeah.
Now you compare that to somebody who's going to wear like a polyester faux fur made out of a petroleum byproduct thing, like that's not even going to last a couple years. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be forever in a landfill. Mm-hmm. When you're done with this garment, for whatever reason, it's just going to dissolve back into the earth right from the place that it came from, right? Yep. And it doesn't hurt a thing throughout that process. It's pretty special. And I just think it's so misunderstood. It's so misunderstood.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you two about. You've got a great family and you work together, but you also work independently. And I think that's something that makes you unique within this outdoor space, right? I see a lot of husband and wives who hunt together. I see some gals that act like they're hunting by themselves, but they're not. And I see you two going out and working together sometimes. I see you going out and hunting by yourself sometimes. You're like Jase this morning, you took your daughter out. Is that right?
Yep.
Like, how cool is that? But also, how do you pull it off? Like, how do you manage this complicated family? You've got a pile of kids. You've got jobs. You've got obligations. How do you pull it off? I think a lot of people would look at your lives and be like, I would love to be able to live like that, but I don't know how to do it.
Well, it's craziness in our house. I'm going to be honest. We got 4 kids, 4 dogs, and that's half the reason why we end up having to do independent hunting missions. I'm usually the one that gets the most time to go out. Laura's I'm very fortunate that Laura lets me go out and do all this stuff. But if we had our choice, we'd hunt together, fish together every chance we could, but it's just not realistic with kids and dogs that need taken care of. But yeah, I think it's a good balance.
Yeah, well, the reason why I think it works so well for both of us is because we are both so equally passionate about everything in the outdoors. Like, we are both equally love fishing just as much, trapping and hunting, and like we literally never have an argument. Like, for us, the one thing that's really interesting, there's no compromising. Like, we always want to be doing the same thing. It's not like your standard like marriage where it's like, oh, well, this weekend we can go fishing and then next weekend we're gonna go on a trip to wherever and like visit family or something, or like go on vacation. Like, we literally only want to spend our time in the outdoors doing the same thing. And since like it matters just as much to me as it matters to him, like if I can't go, like I want him to go, because I know what it means to him, because it means the same to me. And he gives me the same grace as well. Yeah. So we just make sure we're always helping each other get the time and the memories out there.
Yep.
You did get to deer hunt together this year.
Yes. We did. Yep. Yes, we did. We had it was like a week.
It was a week long deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
We brought the dogs to the kennel and had her dad watch the kids for us. And yeah, it was nice.
I might have went the other way around on that.
The kennel. They probably would have had fun.
I know. Yeah, they're pretty feral.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but no, that was super special because we haven't
done something like that in a long time.
Yeah, we haven't gone and like I never get the opportunity to go like on an overnight hunt, but I 98% of the time I'm day hunting.
Yeah.
That's just what I have. And I'm very, very grateful. I am very blessed. I still spend probably more time in the woods just with that than I do most people who get to go out like on weekends or something and stay out. But yeah, we haven't done like a weekend hunt trip, and I can't even remember. It's been like maybe one other time or something.
Yeah, in the 5 years. Yeah.
In 5 years. Yeah. So that was pretty special to go over to Oregon, and it was very challenging, but it was such a good time. And he got his buck, and then we came back and we fished, and then opening day here, and we went out opening morning with a plan, and turned out way better than we even expected, and we doubled up. And then I hated my life hiking again. I was freaking out, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, she shot the bigger buck, so I'm gonna let her, pack the heaviest load. So
no.
She was in full out. She was in full out psycho mode coming off that hill.
No, it's like I packed out whole deer before. I packed out whole whitetails before. Like, it's a heavy load, but whatever. It's definitely manageable. The body on my mule deer was like the size of a small elk.
Yeah.
When I got up to it, I was like, I'm a little nervous. And honestly, if we would have been able to like walk out this 4-wheel road that would have taken us 4 times mile wise as long as just going straight down the canyon, I could have packed the weight. But we were going straight down the canyon where it's just that like lava rock with cheatgrass that lays over it, and you don't have a single solid footing. I was mad.
Yeah,
I was just frustrated.
I looked over at her one time. She's like, "Don't even look at me."
Yeah.
I just beat feet to the truck, and my legs were clapping by the time I got down to the truck. But I came back up and helped her shuffle the last load.
Yeah, I started shuffling it because there's nothing I hate more than doing more than one trip. But I was like, I literally have to.
Yeah.
And
we're the type that bring 20 bags of groceries in the house in one trip, you know. It doesn't matter if it's 10 feet out the door.
I'm not going back out there. Yeah, but no, it was that was a pretty epic hunt.
I bet you didn't one trip your bull.
Nope.
No.
Honestly, though, the pack-out wasn't bad because, for one, he helped me. But I cut it up, so I got it, went out that morning, and I found him, and I got him by myself, and that was a pretty amazing experience.
Tell me the story.
Okay, so I'll tell it in my way, which is a lot of unnecessary added stuff. So I woke up that week. I'd been pretty anxious to go out and try these areas that I'd pinned, and I got a new tag. I usually hunt the same area Jase does, the same unit, and it was just so depressing last year. I wasn't even going to go elk hunting this year because I was like, I'm not even excited. It was just really unfortunate. There was a lot of poaching and going on and stuff, and I didn't even cut
hunted 24 days to get an elk last year after work on the weekends. I was grinding it out, sleeping in a tent, waking up next day, going to work, smelling like elk piss. So it's a grind to get an elk, any elk in that unit. So that's why she chose this tag. So.
Yeah, I got a different tag, and I went for rifle. And
atta girl.
Yeah, well, my bow setup is also not the most ideal. Like, if I get a shot at an elk, especially if it was a bull, it'd have to be super close to be efficient. So I was like, you know what? I told Jase, it was come around, I'm like, I'm going to get this tag. I'm going to go for rifle. He's like, why are you getting that tag? And I was like, I don't know. It's not any better than this one, but it's new, and I do spend time up there doing other things. And I'm like, I don't know, it just feels exciting to go up there, and I feel like I have new opportunities. What am I going to see when I go out there? So I spent all summer just looking at the maps and looking and pinning places, and just trying to think about I know where they're out in the spring, where are they going to be out in the fall, and all this stuff. And so we had just shot our deer opening day, and then it was exactly a week later I got my bull. So the few days before, the weather was it started dumping rain, and then I was watching the weather, and on that Thursday it was going to break, and I was like, I bet this morning will be killer because it's just been dumping, good. And I'm like, I'm going to go out Thursday morning, and I'm going to load up the e-bike into the Messmobile, which is my beaten up Dodge Caravan that has duct tape tail lights. It's rough. I took the bench seats out, covered them with the tarp, threw the e-bike in there, and I was like, I'm just going to go up there. Woke up early. Took us 2-hour drive up there, and on the way up, the logging trucks were coming down, and I about pooped my pants every time I go around the corner because they do not get over for you, and I thought I was going to get killed going down the mountain, but... Yeah,
it's their second trip of the day, they're heading for the mill.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. It was scary, but I got up there, parked, unloaded my e-bike, and I started cruising down there. As I'm getting down, I'm halfway, it's 5 miles into the first glassing point I want to go to, and I pass, not far in, I come up on a guy who's coming out on a side-by-side. I'm like, oh, fantastic.
Love these e-bikes.
I know. So, fantastic. So I tell him, I stop and talk to him for just a minute, and he's with his dad, and his dad's probably in his 80s or so. And I was like, oh, hi. And I was like, you guys out hunting? He's like, well, yeah, we're looking for a bull for my dad. He's like, I shot a 5-point in here last night. I'm like, oh, great. The only elk that's back here is dead. And so I'm like, all right, well, good luck. And I drive by, and I keep going down, and I run into another guy on his way out on a side-by-side. I'm like, there's a lot of people in here. And I'm like, wonderful. This is panning out great. And then I didn't even talk to him. He just asked. I was stopped because I heard him coming. I was going to let him go by. And he's like, is there anyone behind you? I was like, nope, just me. And he kind of gave me a weird look and left.
Right.
I do think people get surprised when they see me out by myself sometimes. And so I go down a little bit further, and I finally get to the first glassing point, and I stop. I'm like... You can see this big open bottom and then up the other side of the canyon. And first thing I do is I look up and I see 2 dudes down on the bottom road, like older gentlemen walking with their rifles in their hands, using their scopes as like binoculars, looking down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't shake these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm here. I'm just going to sit here and look. And I'm like, literally the next pot, I pick my binoculars up and look. I'm like, that's an elk way across on the other side. I'm like, that is definitely an elk just standing there on the ridge, coming on to my side of the other side of the canyon. And this is like 1,800 yards away. It's like far. And I was like, oh, dang. So it's so far, I can't tell what it is in my binoculars. So I get my rifle out of my pack, and I'm like, I'm just going to look through my rifle scope and zoom way in because I can tell if it was a cow or a bull. And I get it out and laid out, and I go to look, and it's must have gone behind some trees. I can't see anything. So I look around a little bit longer, and I keep looking over there on and off just to see if I can pick it back up. And I see the elk, so I look through my scope. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a cow right there. And I happen to like scan a little bit, and I'm like, oh, there's more elk over there. And I'm looking, and I'm like, that's a bull. I'm like, that is a bull. I'm like, clearly, I have low standards because the biggest elk I've shot is a spike. And
Spike supremacy, man. I love spikes.
Yeah.
I'm Team Spike.
Yeah. So I was like, no way. I was like, I cannot believe I'm looking at a bull right now. And I text
with all
Jase.
these people all around.
Oh, yeah. All over. And I'm like, and they're just in this spot, like this little drainage that doesn't have a road going by it pretty much or into it. And I voice message Jase. I'm like, I found a bull. Like, I think it's like a 4 or 5 point. And he's like, well, go get it. Quit talking to me. And I'm like, I am going. I'm like, I'm literally getting my stuff together. And I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, gosh dang it. Like,
put your phone away, get on your e-bike,
I was
go
just
over
letting
there.
him know. I was like, it's the last time I tell you anything. And so I load up my stuff again and I'm like, when I'm looking across there is like kind of old road systems going on. I'm like, I don't think that those roads will take me over there. So I'm like, I got to go all the way back out to the car, drive a few miles closer, get back in, ride my bike in, and then hike in. I'm like, whatever. So I dropped a pin where I thought they were. And I will say this is something I do every time. And I'm so grateful, especially in this situation. I always, if I spot something from a really, really far, like long ways away, I always take a video from my point there.
Smart.
And like scan it for the wide area, and then I zoom in
because it looks very different once you get there.
Totally different. I'm like, this is the ridge, right?
Yeah.
Fishing games and listen to this and say, oh, I guess there's no more cell phones in the woods. That's cheating.
Yeah, I know.
They have a meeting about that. We should talk about after this.
Should.
But go ahead, continue.
Gosh. Yeah, but so I did that and I started pedaling out, and by the time I got out of there, I was whooped. I get to the car and I very angrily chuck my bike into the back of the Methmobile, hop in, ride down, park. And so this is kind of funny. Where I had to park, there was this big camp right there, like at the start of the road that was going to go down. And there was this older gentleman in camp with his dog. So I like pulled up and parked, and I'm like, hey, excuse me. And I was like, are you going down here hunting? And he was like, oh, I was going to head down there in a little bit. I was like, do you mind if I just park here and I'm gonna ride down? I'm just gonna go class down there because I'll be like, oh, there's a bull down there. I'm gonna go get it and tell him, and him be like, not that he could tell me no because it's all public, but and he was like, oh yeah, you can't see much from over here, but yeah, you can. It won't bother us. And I'm like, okay, thank you, bye. Just some dumb woman. See you later. So I get my e-bike out and I'm like,
I hope that dude listens to this.
I try to pull the dumb girl card a lot, and it's pretty easy to do because I am kind of dumb. But I like get on my bike and I ride down in there and I stop. It honestly took me a little while to make sure I was like on the right bridge, and I got there and I'm like, okay, this is where I need to go, and I see the ridge I needed to go down because when I looked across, the group was working towards, and this is a group of like 5 cows in the one bull, so it's not like a big group. You don't see big groups up here anyways. And I'm like, there's the ridge right there. Where's the trail to get down? And there was not like really any game trail. We kind of halfway found it the day we packed out all the meat. I'm like, I'm just going to dive down in here. Kind of looked like a trail. No, I was just fighting for my life through the brush, making a lot of noise. I'm like, this is great. So I had my cow call with me though, like my little calf call. And while I'm making so much dang noise, I just do a couple cow calls like, oh, I'm just an idiot cow in the bushes. Like, don't be scared. And I come out finally on the ridge, and it's pretty open on where I'm at. And I walk down and I look, and I'm like, oh, shocker, no elk. They're gone. Took me like 2.5 hours to get over there. And I tell Jase, voice message him. And this is also like kind of a treat because usually 90% of the time I don't have service where I'm at, but I had service here. So I sent him a voice message, and I'm like, shocker, they're gone. Took me too long to get over here. And I'm like, it's raining now. And I just go sit underneath the pine tree like Eeyore. I'm just
Meanwhile, I'm at work going, she shouldn't have even like called me and told me she saw the bull. She wasted 5 minutes. She could
that 5 minutes really made a difference. It literally took 2 minutes. I sent you voice messages. But I was like sitting under the tree, and I'm like sitting there looking for maybe like 10 minutes or so. It's pretty open, but there's a group of little pine trees right across from me, like 100 yards. And I look at the clock. It's like 11:35. I'm like, well, it's going to take me like 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get back to the car. Then I got to drive 2.5 hours to get back home. I got to get the kids from school. I got to take them to their dad's house. I'm like, I should probably leave. So I kind of like get up, pick up my pack, and put one on like strap on my shoulder, all like mopey that I, and I'm trying to be grateful because I was like, I even told myself, I'm like, if I even see a bull during the season, I was like, that's going to be a win because I was going in pretty much blind with very low expectations, which I find to be very good. If you set your expectations really low, you are always nicely surprised, or you don't get disappointed because you didn't expect anything anyways. But I stand up, and I just see something like move on the ridge across from me, just a flash. And this may sound dumb, but my first thought was, what's a mountain lion? Because I really want to kill one so bad. And we'd had 2 friends that like few days before, while they're out hunting, saw mountain lions at like 40 yards in totally different scenarios. And I was like, why can't that be me? When I see one in front of me, not behind me, because that happened last year. But I like scoot over where I can see, and I look, and it's a cow. I'm like, oh, they're right there. They were just in these little pine trees. They must have just been like in this group of like 12 little pine trees, bedded down or standing in it, all of them. And I go from 0 to like 100 on the I better make this work kind of situation. Throw my rifle in my pack really quick. I look, I see the bull, and I just whistled to stop him because he was moving around quite a bit. And I took a quartering 2 shot and drilled him. And he goes barreling down, and I throw another one at him because I will shoot until they're like dead because I've seen animals get away that shouldn't have never got away. And of course, my second shot goes right through his antler, and I like center punched it. Luckily, didn't break it off or anything. There's just a perfect hole. And he goes down the bottom. I get up and go running down, leave my pack like an idiot. Running down, and I got Jase on the phone. I'm like calling him, and I'm like, oh, he's dead. Like he just like rolled into this little drainage in the bottom. I'm like, I got that bull. Because last thing he heard like 2 minutes ago was, oh, I don't see anything.
I'm out of here.
I'm leaving.
Which is classic lore, just like highs and lows.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what the heck is going on?
Jason's getting his hair cut. He's like, what are you doing? And I get down there, and I'm on the phone. I'm telling him, and I'm like all shaken up. And there's this little rock bluff that's right above the bottom of the drainage. Like, and I walk up on it on the phone, and the bull is right there, and he's like sitting. And I'm like, oh, and then he like pops up, and he like kind of stands up, but he stood there, and I shot him again at like 10 feet, and Jason's still on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he said, hold on, and I put the phone down, and I shot him, and then he ran up like 30 yards, and I made a rookie move for one. I did not have bullets in my pocket. I had them in my ammo pouch in my backpack 150 yards up the hill. I just ran down. And the week before, 2 rounds had been shot out of my rifle, one at my deer, and then Jase had used it on his after. And so my rifle holds 5.
So you're out
of gas. And then I had 3, and then I like brain fart, did not have any more rounds, and he's standing there at 30 yards, just standing there, like looking, and I can see my shots are good, and I'm like, like just like I was in the open, like I didn't want to move, and I forget at that moment, like 2 seconds after he's standing there, I'm like, oh, Jase is on the phone. So I pick up my phone. I'm like, I'll call you back. And he's like, what's going on? And I hang up on him. and he stood there for like a couple minutes, took like one step, and he bedded down. I'm like, okay, good. And like his head kind of was below the rise, but I see his antlers. So I just sneak back up the hill, grab my pack, reload my rifle, come back down, and he was dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank goodness.
It's amazing how elk can just take bullets, but you hit them with an arrow and they're dead in 30 yards. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah. You know, it is super interesting. What I tell people all the time is that they're weak to a strong shot and strong to a weak shot.
Yeah.
And if you hurt them with a first shot, whether that's with an arrow or a muzzleloader bullet or, you know, whatever, doesn't matter. They're a lot tougher to everything that's going to happen after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't do it right, man, they can really soak it up. The mule deer that I just shot this week in Montana, I shot him in the middle of the heart with a 6mm Creedmoor, 95 grain ballistic tip. I've never seen a heart
this completely explode,
this damage, right?
Yeah.
And that buck still went 30 yards.
Oh my God.
Absolutely incredible.
They're insanely tough. Animals are.
Yep. And, you know, you compare that to, say, the water buffalo that I just shot with an arrow in Australia, was also a heart shot, and he was dead in 15 yards, right? Probably a little bit more time, like maybe a few more seconds with the water buffalo. But, yeah, I think the bottom line is that a good shot kills them very quickly. And but I'll also say that mediocre shot, you're much better off with a rifle than you are with an arrow.
For sure.
Yeah. But you got your bull. Now he's dead on the hillside, and you're by yourself.
Yeah, I called Jase, told him he's dead, and he was super pumped and like so grateful because not only did he come out the next day and he helped me pack it out, but he did get all the kids from school because I was like, I'm not going to be there to get them. Yeah. Picked them all up for me, and I just stayed out there and I quartered them all up, hung them in game bags from a tree, and then hiked out of there, got home that night.
Mind you guys, this is a 5'1" woman quartering out an elk on a hillside by herself.
I've caught fish bigger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm little. I'm like a midget. Legal midget.
It's impressive though, because I mean, just for a grown man to do it is hard enough. Oh, you know.
Yeah, backbreaking work.
Yeah, by yourself.
Yeah, I was pretty tired. I didn't eat anything that day either, which is classic scenario to me when I'm hunting or fishing. I'm on the hunting fishing diet where I just do not eat or drink water all day. So I'm like, I don't feel very good.
Yeah. But, you know, during that whole process of like going out to one spot, finding the bull, going back around, all the chaos, and then, you know, all the cutting and stuff like that afterwards, did you ever think to yourself like, woe is me, I'm just a little woman out here doing this by myself?
No, I love it. I
just
enjoy
do it, right?
Yeah, it's just part of it. That's something I always talk about. I talk about this a lot with my best friend Kate Small too, because we are both like mentality wise the same. We just like, I don't want a pat on my back because I'm a woman out there doing things, but I just want to be treated like anybody else. Like I don't need a pat on my back, and like I don't need like oh, you poor little thing out there, you're fragile. I'm like, just treat me like a dude. What do you treat your body like?
It's just a stereotype, unfortunately, that's been portrayed over the years, you know.
But understandably so in most circumstances. I get it.
Well, I think that you do deserve a pat on the back though, because you don't have the same social advantages that I do. You just don't. And you get discredited more than you deserve, not just because you're a woman, but also, and you know, I mean this not in a weird way at all, you're attractive too, right? So a lot of women in the outdoor space use that as a lever to pull to get themselves opportunities. Mm-hmm. They're not doing it to like despite that, which I think is your situation, right? Yep. Like you're going out there and getting the job done just because you're a person who's interested in this lifestyle. Yeah. And I think it's badass.
Yeah. I very much like, there's nothing that brings me more fulfillment than being out there hunting and fishing, especially with my children. Like absolutely. My my kids' hunts, those are my absolute favorite memories. But there's just something, I heard this quote, and I've said it a couple of times, where it's like there's a difference between an outdoorsman is you're a participant instead of an observer. And I just think that there's something very fulfilling in being a part of what's going out there, no matter what you choose to do.
It's how we're designed. Like that's how we're supposed to be living.
Yep.
It's not just as a tourist. Like we are a part of it, and we've been so successful at trapping, at hunting, at fishing, that we were able to leverage that success into building a society where not everybody is relying on that anymore. And we've lost that connection. So now when we get to dip back into it, you get all of those old feelings like, oh, this is what I'm built for. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
This is where I'm supposed to be right now. And it feels so right and so refreshing. It's like having a drink of water when you're dying of thirst.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you didn't realize you were thirsty until
you tried it.
Until you have it. And it's like, oh no, I needed this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine life without it, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would we even do?
I literally don't even know.
Yeah.
It's
glue beads to skulls or something.
That's the name. But
no, I do want to get into that a little bit too, though. Talk to me about wildlife art.
So I've always loved wildlife art in general, like in all kinds of aspects. Like I grew up drawing. There's just something I always loved to do. It was like pencil drawing. And then I went to charcoal, like wildlife drawing. And I always wanted to be like the realism artist, but and I wasn't bad. I had some like pieces I really liked, but I just couldn't get it. And after every time I was done with a drawing, I'm like, oh, thank God that's done. Like I'm over drawing. I want to take a break. And so I've always had the need to create art, and especially in the outdoor kind of realm of things, or the wildlife realm of things. And it was the most random time. I was house sitting for my parents who were hiking the PCT, so they're gone for 6 months. And this is in the house I grew up in, so it's nothing new. And I was cleaning and I was organizing the bookshelf, and on top of the bookshelf they had like a bunch of coyote skulls, a javelina skull, bear skulls, and above that on top of the wall there's whitetail euros. So there's a bunch of skulls on top. So when you look, you just see a bunch of skulls. Yeah. And I don't know why, but one day I was looking at them, and I think I was comparing like the javelina skull to the bear skull, because if you have not seen, javelina skulls are pretty crazy, and like size to a bear, black bear, they're like the same, but a javelina is like a tiny little animal compared to a black bear. And I just was thinking to myself, I was like, it would be really cool to do something where they looked more individual. Because right now, looking up, like, I just see like a few bear skulls, and I see a bunch of coyote skulls, and they kind of just look like a bunch of skulls rather than individual animals in a sense. And I thought, well, I can't paint at all. Like, I suck at painting, so I'm not going to paint. And I thought, well, like, maybe I can create like some sort of piece with beads, like a picture with beads. And so I text my dad on his inReach because he was backpacking, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, can I beat a coyote skull of yours?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, you can do that." So literally that night, I went to Michael's, bought a case of assorted colored, crappy, cheap seed beads and some random glue, and I just went for it that night. And over the like couple days, I beaded this coyote skull. I still have it. It looks awful. And when I was done with that, I was like, "Oh, like this is cool." I kind of figured out a little bit. Throughout, when you look at the skull, you see like where I started, because that looked awful, and I kind of was figuring out how to make them lay as I went on. And then I was just, after I did that, I wanted to do another one, and I wanted to do another one, and it just went on from there. And then I was just sharing them on my Facebook, and a guy reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have a bull elk skull. I'd love to have something done with it. Got set in the shed, like something chewed off, like a brow tine. Could you repair that as well?" And I was like, "You pay me to do this? Like, heck yeah! Like, I would love that." And I got my first commission piece and did that bowl, and it's been going ever since. I just never get tired of it, and I have like a million ideas in my mind, and I really do love the idea of creating something, like, kind of goes back to this whole like why I want to make my fur coat. Like, it's just a sentimental piece that's not only like a sentimental hunt, but something that can be passed on through their family that's really going to stand out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the art. I love skulls. I look at a skull as like the last track that an animal ever makes. And when I find a skull in the woods, I think that it's so special. And it makes me wonder about that animal's entire life and everything that's happened with it. And Yeah, it's really cool. What I also love, though, are the videos that you post of the process, the intensity on your face when you're working on these things. It's like, it's a level of focus that is just burning. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I usually stay up till like 1 a.m. working on my skulls. When the kids are in school during the year, I can work during the day. I usually do my antler jewelry during the day because it's like loud, it's outside and everything. And then I stay up late at night once everyone goes to bed and I work on the skulls, where it's just my time to just focus and get stuff done. But I really love it. It's like therapeutic for me too.
Yeah.
When I first met her, I was like, oh, I'm gonna like join her. I'll do a couple of my own skulls, and they turn out okay. But yeah, I don't have the patience for that.
It's hard.
No way.
Yeah.
It's funny because when he did do it, he was like, and I would call him. They go, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm working on my skull."
He's trying to impress her,
No, he liked it. He did like it. He was up for quite a bit. He would like get started on his skull, and he would just like go until he got it done. And he'd be like, "I'm tired. I didn't sleep at all for 5 days."
The reason why I gave it up though is because I knew I'd be better than her. I just stopped.
Yeah.
Every skull I do, he's like, I'm like, "Oh, look at here." Like I'm like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing." He's like, "Oh, that's good, but I probably do like this a little different every time." That's the running joke. I wouldn't have done that. But yeah, no, I really truly love it, and I'm always honored when someone like contacts me and they want to send me something that they've harvested, because it's a lot of like, it's an honor. It's a lot of trust to hand over something to have them make it into something special for you, something that's already so special.
Yeah,
I'm like an extra sentimental person, so for me, like if I gave my like animal to somebody, I'd be like, I'm trusting you with this very precious thing, this memory in physical form, for you to make it into something nice.
Well, and for all the folks out there who do live in relationships where compromise is the flavor of the day, fellas, I hope you're listening, because these things are gorgeous. And if you want to hang something up in your house and your old lady isn't that into it, this might be the way.
I've helped many men who get their animals out of the garage and in the house with this.
Might be the way.
Yeah.
Jase, you two have had a lot of opportunities for hunting, fishing, trapping, outdoor recreation. And it's not necessarily opportunities that have been given to you. It's stuff that you work really hard for. I think a lot of people get those opportunities and they just want more for themselves. What I've seen with you is that you're realizing the importance of the opportunities that you've had, and you're trying to give those opportunities to other people. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, Laura and I started a charity hunt here, and we wanted to do something special for someone with terminal disease or terminal disability, and just try to give back to the hunting community a little bit. And we got a deal going right now. It's called Hunt for Silas. Silas was the lucky winner. We had about a dozen applications reach out to us, and we read them all, and we just decided that we weren't going to be able to actually pick one just because they were so heartfelt, and just make a grown man cry reading them. So, but we just did a random number generator, and he won. He's 11-year-old that was diagnosed with melanoma, and the cancer went to his lymph nodes. Thank you. So he's going through a lot right now. His family, the medical bills, and we wanted to do something special for him. So we're taking him on a bull elk hunt of a lifetime. So
when is that hunt?
That's going to be next October 16th through the 19th.
What type of support do you need to make it happen?
Well, we're raising money right now. The outfitter gave us a pretty good deal on it, but we're trying to raise around $10,000. That'll pay for the hunt, travel, and professional videographer. So, but yeah, we're looking for donations to do an online raffle or online auction, and also have a GoFundMe set up too, which has raised about $1,000 so far. But we're going to be doing the online auctions to come up with that, and I feel very confident that we'll have it in no time. So
good.
A lot of people reaching out, a lot of great people. So it's pretty awesome to see the hunting community come together when we need to.
We're good at that.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Well, we're so divided, but when it comes to stuff like this, everybody helps out,
Sure.
So
I mean, we're not
divided,
really
but everyone
divided, but
everyone has something to say
we're
about
siblings.
somebody.
Yeah, we're siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fight about the petty things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't touch base on the opportunity stuff a little bit. I can't ever think of any opportunity that we've actually been given. All of our opportunities are what we make. We make our opportunities, and it's mostly on public land. It's just we live in a place where we can do all this stuff. We're so fortunate that we have everything within an hour of where we live. It's pretty amazing. We're not out shooting trophy animals. Well, Laura did this year, but
I was going to shoot something half that size and be just as happy.
Yeah,
that was just a blessing.
But we're not out looking for inches. We're out looking to make memories. That's what hunting is about. And a lot of people have lost that meaning of what hunting is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my scoring system is everything's a 0 or a 1.
Yeah. Yep.
It's either a shooter or it's not.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy.
Yeah. If it makes you excited and happy, like that's the animal that you should take,
Yep.
Yeah. Also, like if you make a good shot, like that counts for a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you're able to handle that meat well and get it out and process it well and then feed your family and share it with friends and other families.
Yeah.
Like where's that land in the Boone and Crockett system?
Right.
Like it's not even considered, and it's so important and it's so awesome.
Yeah,
like
it's a huge part
that's
of why
the
you're
most
out there.
fulfilling thing, and you can't place a number on it. Yeah.
I've always said, man, if you're laying on your deathbed, you're looking up at your mounts on your wall, and you're going to remember what they score. You're going to remember the memories made with those animals, with the family and friends.
You should. The folks who are super focused on scores, though, they let that number become the quantifier of the whole hunt.
They do.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Oh, that was a 192-inch deer."
Yeah.
It's like, sweet. What can you tell me about the hunt?
Yeah.
Well, he scored 192.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome story, man.
I feel bad. I feel bad for those people, honestly, because they're missing out on way much more than that. So.
Yeah, and they're allowing themselves to be fulfilled by a standard developed by other people.
Yeah.
And we have this opportunity of hunting and recreating and getting our food from nature where we can define success for ourselves. And how incredible is that?
Yep.
Right? You don't have to play by somebody else's metrics. You don't have to go by a scoring system that was developed by a bunch of old white dudes in the 1890s.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
Define success for yourself and get after it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like that buck that Laura killed this year. We knew it was a big deer, but we didn't imagine it was that big when we got up to it. But that's just icing on the cake, though. I mean, it could have been half the size, and we were together on that hunt, which means everything.
Yeah,
So
that's not something that happens very often, and like it's awesome. It's very special to go out and make a memory by yourself. I think like we both feel that way.
Everybody needs alone time in the woods.
Yeah, and like to have success all by yourself, there's something very special in that. But having made the memory and success together, like that means more than the size of the animal to me.
Yeah.
Laura, one of your favorite hobbies, as far as I can tell, is trash talking. How'd spearfishing go this summer?
Oh, it was nice. I lost some weight swimming.
Remember when she
Swimming's great
texted you?
exercise.
Remember when she texted you and said that she was going to beat the record before you?
I do. I do
was
remember that.
Yeah. Be ready for me to beat your record in 2 days. I was like, God's like, oh, really? I might drown you. And
She said she hit 3 over 28 inches, but I never saw anything.
Shush. I actually did spearfish. It was dead already, but it counts.
Okay.
It was
All
on
right.
there.
Okay.
No, okay. So I have to say something funny, and I don't know if I even brought it up to you later, but one of the sections that I had spearfished, I think I went through it 3 passes because I kept seeing these big suckers near the tail end of it. And this is when I had the Hawaiian spear. Just for everyone who's listening, I had the Hawaiian sling thing, but
like
at
a 3-prong.
5.5 feet, which is not as long, I learned. And then I ended up getting an actual 38-inch spear gun. I can't remember the name of the brand, but I got a gun right when the water got murky and I couldn't see anything. So I made this pass through this section 3 times, and I went out a day by myself. I had to drive up so I had to drop my shoes off, my water shoes off, where I was going to get out. And then I drove up, like, I don't know, it was probably like a quarter mile, got out, got in the water, and just floated down like a log on the water. And this is also a section of the river that I trap otters and beavers in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, it's a rational fear. I was just floating through there, and you'll get into some deeper pools where you can't see, and then all of a sudden you'll just be able to see. And I noticed on the rocks there was a lot of tracks from the otters that were digging for the mussels and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, they're in here right now. And I was like, don't splash, don't make noises. Because I don't know why I had just this weird fear of like the family coming out. And the last thing I want is to be in the water like a sitting duck with a family of otters swimming around me. People may think, oh, that'd be so cool. But
they'll attack you.
They are water wolves.
That lady in Montana got jacked up.
Oh yeah. And I had another gal.
They're like wet mountain lions.
They are. I always call them wolves of the water because they really act like it. They're very, very, very territorial. They'll go kill beavers and kick them out of their dens. They'll kill each other as well. And they are insanely strong. I'll say too, I never realized how big otters were until when I was dating Jase and he had trapped one. They're so much bigger than you think, like especially a big male. Like this is big as me, like lengthwise.
Right. Yeah.
And they're literally just a giant mussel, and they're incredibly flexible. So it's not like you're gonna be able to grab them and them not just fold themselves in half and still get you. Yeah. So
and they're related to honey badgers and wolverines. Like they're a real deal.
Weasels are vicious. Yeah. So I was swimming through there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just waiting to like look up in an otter and be like, wah! Right in my face. I'm like, how embarrassing! I'm gonna have to like text James, be like, so I was trying to get that record, and an otter ate my face. But no, I did. It was really fun though. Honestly, it was such a different way. I mean, this goes back to what you were saying. Like, we both are the same, but like I love everything there is to do outdoors, period, on the water, on the land, wherever. Like I'm
gonna get into it next year, I think, but it would be way easier with actual gear. That way you can get down low, stay down low, because a lot of these spots where the suckers are is 5 to 6 feet. So by the time you take a breath of air, go down there, and you're like pedaling against the current, you got to come back up and get a gas of air.
It's hard.
So it is hard.
With
it's
the
really
gun,
hard.
it's forgiving because you got a little bit longer shot. But like my $32 fin and goggle kit. I need better. Yeah, the goggles kept fogging. That's such a pain. And then the flippers were making my toes Charlie horse and stuff. And I was like, and you can't go as fast with those little 2-inch flippers on. But it was really fun. It was super cool. We also I did go and I dove into a couple holes that we salmon and steelhead fish in, and it was also really awesome to see what the bottom of the river looks like in those places that we fish.
You learn a lot, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. Yes, it was just, man, it's so cool. That's honestly another thing.
That's what I keep getting snagged up on every year.
That dang rock. I'm not even kidding you. I did see a rock. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I set the hook on that thing five times.
I know. I could have swore it was a big fish. There's 5 of my lures down there. But I mean, the thing that's so awesome about anything outdoors is you could go do this every day for your entire life, and you will never stop learning. Yeah. You will never stop exploring, and it's so fulfilling, and I just love it. I always joke that I'm 5 at heart because I get really excited about everything, but what a blessing, because how cool is it to go out and be excited about just I went out and I dove in this hole and I saw this pocket where that's why we get either snagged or this is where the fish will lay down in and hide when the current's going or whatever. Also, another thing too, when we went through and snorkeled because we were looking for lead and gear from all the millions that we've lost during steelhead season, and we saw smallmouth bass in those spots, and I was like, I had no idea there was bass up in this spot.
It's truly amazing. You stand on the bank and you look in the water and it doesn't look like much, and you go underneath there and you start exploring. It's just crazy. It's a whole different world once you go under the water. I can see how it's addicting as hell.
Yeah, you said that before. It's just like being on another planet, and it really is. It's so funny on such a especially when you're on water that you're so familiar with from the land version, and you get in and it's just
and
it's so
you
cool.
think you know it from the air, but you don't.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Last question. What advice do you have for other couples and families out there who maybe are wanting to spend more time outside and doing the thing. Like, what advice do you have to offer them?
I would say finding things outdoors that you all enjoy. Yep. There's so many things to do that, like, whether it's even like backpacking or hiking, wildlife photography, fishing, foraging. I know a lot of people that love going mushroom hunting in the spring, shed hunting. I mean, there are endless things to go do out there, and there's a lot of very kid-friendly activities to go out as well. Like, I even, on the harder side of things, like we even take 3 of our 4 kids are hunting now. And they go out hunting with us, bird hunting, big game hunting. And then I even take my kids out water trapping as well. I think it's really easy for parents to be like, oh, well, I'd rather not bring the kids because it's going to be hard or whatever. Bring your kids. It's so much, it may be challenging at first, but it ends up being so rewarding, so good. I can't stress how healthy it is to spend time in the outdoors mentally for everyone.
Yep. Get those kids off the tablets and the cell phones. Get them out, fresh air. Like Laura said, the mushroom hunting. I mean, that's really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, especially with the kids.
And the kids love it. It's a big thing. They find one, they want to find the next one. Yeah. It's something fun to do as a family. So that'd be a great place to start if you're not into the outdoors.
Yeah. Even if you're a couple and say like your wife doesn't want to hunt, but she doesn't mind hunting, because I actually do have a friend of mine who she can never pull the trigger on an animal. There's just no way. And I've known her since I was 11, and her husband's a big hunter, trapper, and they've got 4 girls. But, like, they could also go out as a family, and the girls, like, they can glass, and they can be part of it some way. I think it's really important to put the effort to be a part of that kind of, like, an outdoor activity.
Yeah, and Laura's taking the kids out before they even could buy a trapping license. She'd take them out and check her traps. Yeah. Just get them into it.
Tell them to look for sign.
Feel them out and see if they're interested in doing that too. Mm-hmm. Don't just push your kids into something because you want them to. Kind of feel them out and
encourage it. Yeah. Like I said, as simple as it sounds, just get outside, no matter what you're doing. Yeah, and spend time together.
Yep.
Great advice. Thank you guys so much, both. Keep setting a good example. I think you're doing a wonderful job of that. You're raising an incredible family, and I'm going to make it a priority to come out next summer, and we'll do a little bit of spearfishing. Do we want to talk about what else you have going on next summer yet?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can.
Just website. A quick little teaser on it.
Yeah, our website's in the process of being built.
Should be up like any day now. But yeah, we're like what we've talked about. We enjoy the outdoors so much. And kind of what you touch base on me with my trapping, like I never got into it because I never had the right, I never had help. I didn't have the right person to kind of teach me a little bit, or at least to give that little push. And I think it's really a lot of other people are the same way. And like with Jase, he loves to get people out on their first experiences. We invite friends up, strangers up to come experience like fishing and hunting, like takes people sea live fishing, turkey hunting. Just come join us, come experience it, because he knows like what it does for us. We want to share that joy with other people and see them have it. And so we decided we wanted to do something to give back to the people who want to learn how to experience all the fun things, all amazing things there's to do in the outdoors. So we're going to host our own outdoor retreat where we help give knowledge on a wide variety of things, with hunting, trapping, fur handling, wild game, cooking, which you will be instructing, and like all kinds of weapon handling, archery, shotgun, pistol, rifle.
Years and years of knowledge that you can learn in a week.
Yeah. So. Just something that will help you become a well-rounded outdoorsman and go out and enjoy things confidently and successfully. We also, I feel like one of our really important classes is Survival 101. It's going to be taught by Caleb Gamashi, a Green Beret. And I just feel like that's something everyone should know well, or your basic Survival 101 skills when you go out there. Because, I mean, I have a friend who, she helps with the 911 dispatch in our area. Every fall, they get calls on people who are lost or injured or whatever, and they didn't know what to do in the situation. And
yeah, I think even if you think you're experienced in that field, I think it's a good idea to take it, because you might pick up one thing that might save your life, you know.
Oh yeah.
I should take it, honestly.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go sit on it as well. I think that there's, like we said earlier, this is going out and enjoying all these things outdoors. This is something you can never learn enough of.
Well, I can't wait for it. I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to instruct because I love teaching, but I'm also going to learn so much. And I'll be loading up the cast iron and heading this way next summer.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
It'll be a good time. And another great thing, be a way for everyone to connect and make good relationships that can last forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you guys both very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's just great to see you again.
Thanks, James.
It's nice to not have like all the hustle and bustle of a trade show.
Yeah.
Sit in a coffee shop and talk.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The Six Ranch podcast is brought to you by Nick's Handmade Boots, a family-owned company in Spokane, Washington. For many of my listeners, you have waited and prepared all year for this. Whether your pursuit is with a rifle or a bow, early or late season, big game or birds, another hunting season is finally upon us. Nick's Boots and the Six Ranch want to wish you luck as you head out into the field. This season, I'm wearing the Nick's Boots Game Breakers beginning with the archery elk season. Having worn this boot throughout the summer around the Six Ranch, I continue to be impressed with how quiet the boot is. The rough-out leather laces, and 365 stitch-down construction create a simple boot that is supportive, durable, comfortable, and most importantly, quieter than most synthetic hunting boots. For 60 years, Nick's has been building work boots for wildland firefighters, tradespeople, hunters, and ranchers, as well as heritage styles for anyone who values quality footwear made in America. Visit nicksboots.com today to find your next pair of high-quality American-made work boots. Add a pair of boots and a work belt to your cart and use the code 6RANCH. That's the number 6 and the word ranch to receive the belt for free. I just want to take a second and thank everyone who's written a review, who has sent mail, who's sent emails, who's sent messages. Your support is incredible. And I also love running into you at trade shows and events and just out on the hillside when we're hunting. I think that that's fantastic. I hope you guys keep adventuring as hard and as often as you can. Art for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatelain and was digitized by Celia Harlander. Original music was written and performed by Justin Hay, and the Six Ranch podcast is now produced by Six Ranch Media. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the show, and I look forward to next week when we can bring you a brand new episode.